Robert Windhorst will be here. He'll join me. I'm the Special Projects Coordinator for the City of Grants. Only been in the position for a couple months, 2-3 months. Robert's Code Enforcement Officer. The City Manager, Laura, she's in Las Vegas at a PBR.
Right. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. And someone's getting married, so she's making a trip. She made a trip to Las Vegas. She's off until Monday. And Les, the Assistant City Manager, is in Farmington at a conference. So it's me and Robert. I do special projects, so if you have any questions in regard to the wastewater treatment plant, the runway, some of the infrastructure, road projects.
Oh, yes.
God, we need some more road projects. If you guys have questions there, or some administration type stuff, but I'm no city manager, so so don't quote me.
You're already on the record.
Yeah, there you go. And Les, I mean, Robert will be here shortly, so he's going to.
Okay. I do have a question. Are you guys done with Stevens? Is that going to be the final finished product, or do you know?
No, I understood from Les that they had some trouble, something about the oil, wrong kind, something like that. Anyway, it made it a little bumpy, so they are going to go through it and fix it soon. I don't know when, but it's not done.
Okay.
It's not done.
All right.
We were out on the west side of town yesterday and decided to come back on Stevens because we had already did it. And he was either in the process of being redone or had been. And when we got to the new part, then you could tell. It was very smooth. It seemed done, except I'm wondering, are they going to be putting back the speed bump?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Robert may know whenever he walks in.
Okay.
That'd be a good question for him. Since you mentioned Stevens Street right away, I'm so grateful that the city. I know there's a question of should the city bought the road equipment? Should they not have? I think it's a good thing that they bought the equipment for the small streets. I mean, when was the last time you saw a street paved in the city of Grants, a neighborhood street anyway? It's been a while, and I think we'll see more and more of that. I know now we're getting into the cold season, so they may not be able to do another street. They may, but once spring starts next year, from what I understand, they're going to start, street by street. There's a priority list. I don't know if there's like an official list, but I know Laura has a plan in regard to paving a lot of the neighborhood streets. We've got a lot of bad streets. I mean, we've all seen them, we've experienced them, but we will be paving the neighborhood streets, and I think that's great. It's been a long time coming.
The neighborhood sidewalks and curbs needed too, along with the streets.
Yeah, I know.
No pedestrians to be able to walk on other than the streets.
Yeah, I know Les is working on a sidewalk project. It started prior to myself and Les getting there, but there were some issues with the RFP process. So I guess probably next spring we'll start it all over again. But I know there's some streets on I think Roosevelt, or there's some sidewalks along Roosevelt, Lobo Canyon Road, and some other small streets that we need some sidewalk repair, and we will be doing that. There is a plan.
Do you know if there's any update on George Hannes Bridge?
Yes, the flooring is going to be poured Friday morning,
Oh, okay.
and then from there it's all up. So a lot of the base is done. I don't know if you've been there and seen the project, but they rerouted the water and all that. It's amazing how much water is still flowing through there. I was there yesterday morning, and there's a good flow of water coming out of the.
It's been like that for
alternative.
a couple of months, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think it comes down from Mount Taylor. Terry may know more of this than I do, but it seems like a lot of the flow comes from the mountains.
I think there's a leak up there somewhere.
There's a leak up there.
Actually,
Where at?
By the cemetery.
By the cemetery?
yeah.
And I know Laura's checked the water, said it wasn't city water, but it hasn't been there for 30 years, so.
Yeah. Ever may know
I did
about
some
that.
water testing on that, it's natural water. We did send some tests out. What it is that what we're anticipating that when they overdug that arroyo, they hit the groundwater. Yeah, we did send out some water samples to that. But the majority of that water is coming out from the 5th Street, the dam there at the Riverwalk.
So is that like a natural?
Yeah, it's off of that artesian well, it just refracts and
okay.
it goes over the spillway.
And from what I understand, they're gonna still dig deeper. The overall plan is, from what I understand, with the Aurora there, 'cause- yeah.
And that seems to make sense from what I see. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but I remember I pass it often, and we live in Los Alamitos Heights up here, where the creek coming down from Taylor meets the Rio San Jose. The water is clearly coming from the Rio San Jose.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure where that is. I think it's near Nimitz.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's not coming from the dam right now.
Yeah.
So when I did the water test, I tested for chlorination and stuff, and it was zero chlorine. We do chlorination as well.
And, I do want to mention at this point the 2010 Drainage Master Plan. I don't know if many of you guys are familiar with that, but it was a plan that the county, the village of Milan, and the city invested in 2010. And anyway, we're still following that plan. If you notice the bridges that have been done, first, second, Nimitz was done recently, College, and then now George Hanisch. Next on the list is Roosevelt and the one by Mesa View. Anyway, those aren't just random, we're gonna fix this bridge because it's going down. It's all part of the 2010 master plan. And the ultimatum of the 2010 master plan is a concrete arroyo, the Rio San Jose that goes through Grants. I mean, we may not be around when that happens, but I think that one of the big reasons the city's been successful at gaining these funds, because there's been a lot of projects done in most recent times, and it's because we're following that 2010 master plan. Myself and the engineer went before the Water Trust Board last week, and we were requesting money for the Roosevelt Bridge. The Water Trust Board, the State Water Trust Board, was impressed. They were very impressed with the city of Grants, the way we're following that 2010 master plan. It's just like us at our houses, you know, we have a plan for this, have a plan for that, and you know, we all tend to go off in our and don't follow the plan, but the city is committed to following that 2010 master plan. And a big reason we're committed to it is because the funding, as long as you're following the plan, the chances of getting funding is a lot greater.
So the bridge on Roosevelt,
Yes,
is that a city project?
yes. It's a state maintained road.
Yeah.
And I think it's even a state owned road.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know the state's struggling, you know,
Yeah.
just as well as many are. But so it will be state. They'll have some funding for it, but the city will have to have its match. But it is a city project.
So sometime after that, and again, I don't know if we'll be here,
Yeah.
Roosevelt will be repaired.
Oh yeah. All these bridges, when they were built 50, 60, 70 years ago, I don't know how long, they were all built too small. Not enough room for the water flow, the 10-year, 50-year flood that come down Mount Taylor and all that. They're just not big enough. So the goal is to widen the arroyo to 100 foot across,
Okay.
and with concrete and with bridges that could handle that type of flow.
Yeah.
These bridges that have all the concrete around it, those can't handle the flow. It's got to be an open, you know, to where there's just a top road. I don't know what they call it. There's a name for that type of bridge, and that's how Roosevelt Bridge will be.
So the last flood was in 2015 that took out George Hanisch?
Yes, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. But it did not take out Nimitz.
Right.
Okay, so, and I noticed when the George Hanisch Bridge was there, that the Nimitz Bridge is about 2 feet higher than George Hanisch was. Now, I guess what they're doing, I'm sort of guessing here, with George Hanisch, they're going to make the waterway wider, not so much make the bridge higher,
Right.
and that'll handle the flow.
Right. And the arroyo is supposed to be, from what I understand, a couple feet lower
Yeah, okay.
on a regular basis. I know now it's dirt and it's got all the plants and stuff, so it builds
Yeah.
up quickly. But once it's concrete, cement
then-
arroyo, then I mean, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
no problem there. Robert's here now, so there was a question. There was a question about someone had a question about the speed bump on Stevens,
Stevens.
if it's going to go back, because they just paid Stevens.
And what they want to know about this speed bump?
There was a speed bump on Stevens.
Oh, they want another one?
No, we
No,
don't.
we don't want
actually.
another one.
We're just
We're-
wondering if there's going to.
there's
Sorry,
gonna
I'm
be
from
another
Stevens, so I just want to
replacement.
say we don't want one. We just want to know if it's going to be going back.
Yeah, not, we don't want it.
They just paved it. There was a
Save
speed
some
bump.
money there, right?
I haven't heard. I know you cannot believe how many requests we get for speed humps. Everybody wants them. And the city has prescribed an ordinance, they have an ordinance that says that if you want to put speed humps along a street, that you have to get 60% of the residents on that street to vote. And they get one vote per household.
You know, you also need to lower the speed limit on those streets, because if you have a 25-mile-an-hour street and a speed bump that you have to slow down to 10 miles an hour to go over, there's a problem there.
Well, and you remember that our speed humps in the past, you needed a four-wheel drive and you needed one of those tall, and your muffler would come off and be laying there in the street. But we have a set standard now for speed humps.
And I've noticed, I drove over the new ones on, was it Truman? Okay, that, when Hanish was open, you know, that's one of the ways to avoid Sacaleras.
Sure.
And then come up, Folsom to Truman. After the speed bumps have been put in, I was curious what they were like, and yeah, they're much better.
Well, a speed hump, if it's properly done, just slows the traffic down, doesn't make you have to slam it into four-wheel drive, climb up over the top of it, and so the city's more cognizant of that, and we have
Yeah, good.
a pattern for it now.
Over there on Mesa Boulevard, and by Jackson, they have like dips. And I live in that area, and I
Oh, yeah.
noticed a lot more people slow down for those than they do for the humps. I mean, I've seen them, people fly over the humps, even no matter how high they are, I've seen them fly over. But that dip that's there, I've seen them slow down to go really slow on them.
Well, that's because they know what happens to
Yeah.
your
So
car
I
if you
would
don't.
think those would be better than humps. You know, it's slow.
Well, those are there for a purpose.
Yeah, I know what those are, but I'm just saying.
So instead of going up, you're gonna go down.
Yeah.
That's right.
It slows them down further.
And it is a lot wider than any speed bump would be. We've gone Mesa also in the past when Hanish was open. And I'll take that at, you know, maybe 15 miles an hour, 10, 15, and it's okay. But the speed bumps, yeah, we go down to 5. And I understand somebody told us that what speed bumps are really supposed to be for, and I'm not sure this is correct, is to slow you down to the speed limit, not 5 miles an hour.
No. No, they're to slow you down, way down. And,
Okay.
and that's the purpose for them, and that's why we installed them on Truman,
Yeah,
because there was that curb, and we even had a police car go off that curb and almost end up in the ditch back there. So to limit liability issues and slow people down. I mean, we've got kids in these neighborhoods, and I'd like to see the police pulling people over for speeding and actually giving them a ticket, and if they did that, we wouldn't need the speed humps, but,
that brings up another police thing. What we have noticed, we even noticed it last night, and I thought to myself, I mentioned it to Rose, you know, we gotta go down to this police department because we know a way they can increase a lot of revenue in this town. And that's to go out just after the sun sets and get all the people who don't have their headlights on yet. It's like a quarter of the cars that we went by, no headlights.
well, I'd be pretty ticked off to get a ticket for that.
What's the law?
I think most cars turn on, when when you turn your car on, the lights are
But
on.
we see a lot who don't until it gets absolutely dark.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I run into that problem on the interstate where it's a lot more dangerous. No, I think, I was just wondering about the Stevens because it is a lot better than it was. Trust me, it was a lot better when it was milled up than it was. but people were like, okay, so just so you know, we're
I'm
not
glad you-
complaining about it being done, we're just wondering.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the milling. On a lot of the streets that are real bad, that we don't have time to put asphalt, now that it's getting cold,
Mhm.
they are going to mill those streets.
Mhm.
Because like you said, even when it's milled, it's better than what it was.
Yeah.
So, from what I understand, Les is gonna be having the road crew mill some of those streets that are real bad and leave them like that until spring, and then we could come back and later.
Yeah, and that was my other question, because I know that it's starting to get cold, so I wasn't sure if they were having to finish because, well, it's getting cold.
Yeah.
And so I know that the freezing temperatures affect the road construction.
And if there is infrastructure on these streets that are getting paved, that's real bad under it, say they've had a couple leaks, then, from what I understand, if it's that bad, they won't pave the street, we'll fix the infrastructure under the street before we pave over top of it. So, that way we're not hurting the
As long as we're
road.
on streets, that brings up Sacaleras. And I remember on our block, a few houses away from us, a guy named Larry, he used to work for a company that did streets. He was in street construction. And I remember I think it was last fall, I don't remember exactly, when Sacaleras from Old 66 up to George Hanisch was repaved. In other words, past the prison, it was repaved. And within 3 weeks, it was chewed up again. And Larry said, probably the problem was that what was underneath the pavement wasn't done. It needs to be really tight and hard for the pavement to be put on top. Otherwise, cars will push the pavement down, and that seems to be what happened.
Yeah. If you notice where the manholes are with the concrete, the blacktop's kind of gone under it. From what I understand, that street was not done correctly, or it was quick. Edward, you may know more about Sacaleras than what I do.
So when they put that road up, they did a bypass for the prisons. They didn't want to take the inmates to town, so they built this road. And starting from Roosevelt to Noble Canyon, it was just a dirt road. We just had a easement for our manholes, our shoreline. So they just went through there, took the blade, made it, then compacted it right, then put the proper base course and stuff. So it was just a quick road for that, and that's where we're at with it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are seeking funding to get Sacaleras redone with a true subgrade and grade, or whatever they call all that.
Yeah.
But it was just never done properly.
Yeah.
So that's why we are where we are today with
So we go
Sacaleras.
Nimitz often.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot more people using Nimitz. Say people come from the eastern Cibola County to go to the courthouse. I've noticed a lot of people using Nimitz rather than First Street anymore. Just because, I mean, why go down First Street? If you, midday, during lunch, you see more traffic on Nimitz than you do on First Street.
Mm-hmm.
Why go down First Street? If you're coming from this part of the county, you could just take Nimitz and go to the county and do
They
your
don't want to
business.
tear up the vehicle.
What's that?
They don't want to tear up the vehicle.
Exactly.
And if you go the opposite direction, in other words, come south on Nimitz, and you want to get on to Santa Fe Avenue, so the most likely, and then make a left turn as if you're going to Walmart or something, then the most logical thing to do is to turn on MacArthur and then go to Santa Fe. But then I've seen like 7 or 8 cars backed up because trying to turn on left turn on Santa Fe, not the easiest thing in the world at a certain time of day.
Right.
That's true.
I think the important thing to realize is that the city is doing its best. I mean, infrastructure is very expensive.
Oh, I know.
If you want to build your bank account, you ignore streets, you ignore water pipes, sewer lines, because they're very expensive to put in. Roads like Sacaleras, I think it costs about $800,000 per mile to $1 million to put in a road like that.
Wow.
And so people ask, well, why do our roads always look so bad? Well, it's because infrastructure is expensive. And when there is no money from the federal or the state government, it's really hard to do that. But the city has been looking for ways to improve the infrastructure within the city by replacing water lines and sewer lines, and even repaving streets a little bit at a time. It's an expensive process, but They're determined to do it, and Don Jaramillo is doing a great job as our projects manager. He is so diligent about looking for money and doing the contracts, going to every meeting that you have to go to jump through the hoops to get this money, and he's been doing a great job. So the city has been doing its very best to improve life for everybody.
Yeah, Second Street is at 30% engineering now, all the way up to Harrison. We should be at 60% by January. So anyway, the goal is to start construction from Washington to Harrison in the spring or summer next year. We still need a little pot of funds to go from Harrison to Roosevelt. I know that's just a little ways, but that little ways is about $200,000. So we are seeking funding to finish the last part. We do have funds from Washington to Harrison. We're just in the process. First Street, because of the plume, we've all heard about the plume. It's on hold now, but we're waiting for some data on how far we could go under because the plume is down there. So if we're allowed to go at least about 8 foot, then we could finish First Street up to, I believe it's Harrison also, and we have that funding also. So there is funding for First Street and Second Street up to Harrison.
And where is Harrison, let's say with respect to?
Harrison is, isn't
Between
it?
Washington and.
The old Lottaburger.
Yes,
Oh.
right in that area. Right there, yeah. So it's not quite all the way to Roosevelt, but
Pretty far.
Yeah.
No, it's past the high school.
exactly. And then now we're actively seeking funding for Roosevelt. That's gonna be
Yeah.
about 2-3 million.
Well, maybe Laura's in Vegas to try to get some more
She
funding.
could
She got really lucky.
Donald, when UP do agree with Roosevelt, is it in the plan to make it a two-way again, or are you going forward with the one-way?
two-way. Now first and second.
Okay, yeah.
Roosevelt is two-way, but first and second, from what I'm hearing now, because of the traffic, from what I understand with first and second, but we have to finish the engineer process now and get the roads done. But once they are complete, from what I understand, Second Street is going to stay a one-way, but First Street will be a two-way.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, but the state's already given us funding, and we don't want to mess up relations there. We want to keep, but then once we're all done, they will say, okay, we're going to switch it. So the plan is to go two-way on First Street, which I think is excellent.
I think so too.
Any more questions, concerns?
I have a county question, since the county representatives here. Did the greenhouse make their October payment?
Up here?
Yeah.
Back here? I haven't heard, but I could check and find out. I know he's going forward with the greenhouse in Acoma.
Yeah, but if they didn't make that, now you own the greenhouse again.
Right. I'll look into that.
Has anyone heard, I understand, you know how that overpass is being done right there at San Fidel? I have
Yes.
heard
Yeah.
that it was being redone because of the large green, the proposed large greenhouse in Acoma. That's what I had heard, but I didn't.
What I've been told is they were counting on federal funds which have dried up, so again, we're all gonna get a lot older.
Yeah.
I have to go buy some dye my hair.
And that the overpass at San Fidel, now, if you're eastbound on 40, you cannot get off there at McCarty's, which is ramp 96. You have to go to San Fidel, which is ramp 100.
Yeah.
I think you can get off if you're going westbound, but not eastbound now.
Okay. I just thought about, do you think it'd be beneficial to have public tours on the projects that were, like say the wastewater treatment plant, the airport? I know the airport runway is about done, but would you guys attend a public tour of the project right midway through? I mean, I think because if you see something, then you believe it. When you don't see it, it's hard to believe. So I don't know. Would you guys be interested in something like that? A tour of projects as they're going? Just curious.
I mean, I think if you would the best way to do that would be like set like a day and a time each week, and that way it's set so that it's not people trying to plan and schedule or interrupt work. But I think that would be cool because I'm always interested in walking by and saying, oh, what is that? Like I was on the interstate yesterday and I saw that they were at that construction, the overpass, they were painting the pottery. along the side, and it looked really lovely, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on there. I mean, I had half a mind to pull over and be like, hey, you know, but that was weird. Also, I was tired.
All right, Rick.
Concerning the airport, we were out there just recently. If you want to see what's on there and you don't have Comcast, you can go to our website. Right now, it's on our channel about the construction out there and what they're doing out there. The type of equipment that they have and all of the electronic stuff that's going on, because it is a real state-of-the-art process that they're using. So if you want to see it, just go to our website.
The city is sending a press release out today on the airport project. There's a ribbon cutting on November 17th at 2 o'clock, and they will be giving tours of the project and the aviation museum. So that'll be a special occasion, donuts and coffee.
Edward?
And also up here at the new wastewater plant, we do have a time-lapse camera as the construction goes through. And I could get Donald and you guys the link and put it on the city's website and see how much has been accomplished up to this point.
Yeah, that's a huge project, and it's a neat project. Might be interested in checking it out.
Well, back to what you were mentioning about having tours of projects that are underway, I was thinking that I think that'd be a very positive thing, because it's another way of, you know, there's the city government and there's the city people. And it's a way of bringing the two together more.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe if people see the work that's actually going on all the details, people will be more understanding about the timeline and, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob.
Staring up.
Come on down.
Aye, this is a non-verified at this point, but I understand that the governor is going to be here on the 12th for the ribbon cutting or whatever the opening. So, 17th
For the
at
airport.
Yeah, and Pierce, Representative Pierce has also,
Has he?
he confirmed, yeah, or Congressman Steve Pierce has confirmed. I know Heinrich and Udall have also been invited, and Lujan Grisham, but they have not confirmed. So, be a neat event to go to. 2 o'clock, November 17th, Friday.
Johnny?
Since we're speaking about events coming up, I would like to remind everybody about Veterans Day coming up next week. Everything is falling into place. The VFW is going to do their annual memorial ceremony down at Friendship Park. And immediately after that is over, there's going to be the Freedom Walk from Friendship Park down to Fire and Ice Park. And we'd like to invite all the veterans and their families, their friends, to support them to participate in the walk. We're working on the VFW Honor Guard will be there, and the ROTC will also be there, hopefully. And then once we get to the Fire and Ice Park, Main Street is hosting a picnic for the veterans. And we're going to have speakers there, and we'd just like to invite everybody to come out and support the local veterans. This is the third year that it's been done. It was started by Mayor Hicks 3 years ago, just to show support for the local veterans. And there's many of them that have really not ever been acknowledged for their time in the service, and this is a good way for the community to do it. And Main Street is working on all the details in cooperation with the American Legion and the VFW. And another thing that the Main Street is doing is selling luminarias in honor of a veteran, a family member or a friend, and they're going to be put along, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, put along the medium the night before and lit, so they'll be lit all through the night prior to Veterans Day. So again, we'd like to invite everybody to come out and join us and just show your support.
Thank you, John.
The VFW starts their memorial service at 11 o'clock. And then the walk will be immediately after.
Bob?
John kind of understates his involvement in this. The mayor started it, but he got a real probe from Mr. Martinez here. And it's an impressive event. And in addition to the activities as described, we'll have the yellow ribbons. Probably we'll start putting them up this weekend.
Yeah, if I may,
Yeah.
we're going to put yellow ribbons. I know a couple of weeks ago there was a big brouhaha in here about not having yellow ribbons last year. Well, we have yellow ribbons and they're available at Rockies, 623 West Santa Fe. And if you want to put them out, come by and then we'll give you some and we'll watch you put them out. But we'd like to start doing that on Monday. And we'd like to just, we're going to have about 2,000 feet, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So we'll have
That's a lot of
some.
ribbons.
We'll have some for everybody, and we would like, for the community to participate.
So we pick up the ribbons at your shop?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, just come by.
Are they already cut, or?
We will cut them, and we'll give you as much as you want.
And then we just hang them up along Santa Fe
And
Avenue?
you just tie them up.
That sounds like a
wherever
good
there's
kid project.
This,
And
this
just,
whole event is impressive, especially the march or the walk from Friendship Park down to, and we'll have veterans who cannot walk, they'll be in wheelchairs. We're even trying to negotiate a small bus conveyance. We want as many veterans and their families to get. And this is the third year, I believe, that we have
One of the great things about living here is the amount of veterans that we have in this area.
Absolutely.
And there is a patriotism that you don't find in a lot of places.
Absolutely correct.
And I'm grateful for the opportunity to start meetings with prayers, to have the Pledge of Allegiance, be able to put our hands over our heart. And that is one of the very special things about living in this community. We should always remember that and be grateful for
I
that.
agree with you.
Sure.
And also, with regard to Veterans Day, I don't know if grants is going to tie into this or any of the communities in the United States, but Veterans Day in the U.S. is Armistice Day in Europe. And they're meant to be the same. I think we picked up on theirs. Armistice Day is the day that the signing of the armistice to end World War I occurred. And of all for me, when I heard about it, it was a little comical. It was at 11 minutes after 11 o'clock in the morning on the 11th month and the 11th day of 1918 that occurred. Next year is the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day. And I figured some communities are probably going to pick up on that and have larger Veterans Day ceremonies than maybe they otherwise would.
sounds like a
This
great.
year, I think we're concentrating on getting it together, and I am aware of that, and we'll perhaps inflate it next year.
I just have one thing to say for the county, and I just want to let you know that we're in the process of, we have a state auditor that came with the intention of being here for 3 days, and he decided to bring his RV, and he's going to be here for a month. And he's been going through the books of the county. We have pushed for transparency because we want to know exactly where we're at with the money of the county. We want to know what we have to spend, what we don't have to spend. And it's been amazing the pushback that we have had for doing this. We're opening our books and doing this very public audit, and we have an individual from our community that's a CPA, and it's just been approved, and it was a long process through the state to go in and look a little deeper. Because we want to know, because we believe that everybody in this county deserves to know where their money goes and how it's been spent. I believe that that's most important. So I would ask each of you to please pressure the members of the county commission, to stay the course and to continue to do the right thing. Because this is for us. For years and years, I hear it all the time. Oh, you're all a bunch of corrupt politicians. You do what you want to do and you don't care about us. Well, maybe that's been the case in the past. And to that I say, if you don't like your politicians, then find someone that you do like and you believe will do what you want them to do, and then elect them. Instead of electing the same old people all the time that do not do what you want them to do. Because politicians work for you, not the other way around. And so, boy, I'm getting a little worked up. But anyways, I just wanted to say, please, please, show your support by getting in touch with your commissioner and letting them know that you are for this audit, that you are for this push that we have to control the spending in our county and to get things under control. And I will promise you, it's not a popular thing. I'm telling you, when I deny someone, when someone comes up and they're in a wheelchair and they've got tears running down their face from futures or something like that, let me tell you, I'm not inhuman. I feel it. But my job is to do the right thing by the county as a whole. And if that means denying every kind of extra spending, then we will do that. And use our influence, yes.
So if I understand you correctly, what you were stating publicly,
yes,
that you feel that in the past there has been, if not significant, somewhat mismanagement of county funds?
There has been.
Okay.
And I will also say this, that our lawyers represent 5 other counties, and they have informed us that this county gives out more money to nonprofits than any of the other counties that they deal with. And what a county is responsible for is public safety, roads, public safety. Those are the main things that we are responsible for. And those things have not been taken care of very well. I mean, we've got sheriff's vehicles now that are without motors or transmissions. We've got a lot, and public safety should be our focal point, and to make sure that our public is safe, that our deputies have what they need to keep us safe, and our emergency services. So that has been the purpose. So if you've heard anything about that, and you've heard negative connotations attached to this auditing process, understand it's taken a long time to do that. I've been in office since January 1st of this year, and it took a long time to pass a resolution to do this audit and to make this process what it is right now. I don't know what's going to happen when it's all done, but I really don't care. We have to know. Each one of you, when you get your paycheck, you go through your checkbook and you see how much money you have to spend. And you figure out your bills, and you do not overwrite that checkbook, because if you pay out more money than you have in your account, what happens? You pay fees for it, and that's irresponsible. And so we have to be responsible with the way that we handle your money, and that is what it's going to be. And I want Cibola County to become a model for the rest of the state, which we're not the only county that has this problem. We have 33 counties, and we have quite a few counties that are in the same boat.
So with that
Victoria?
being said, are we gonna be getting like an auditor's report at one of the commission meetings? Or are we gonna be
Yeah,
speaking directly from
when
the
this
auditor?
process is complete, the public will be aware, the good, bad, and the ugly of what's going on. That's the whole purpose. It's not for our entertainment, but it is for everyone's knowledge, so that we know where our county is at and what we can do to fix it. And so I just felt I wanted to let you know, because you're interested members of our community. You come to these meetings every month. Why? Because you care about grants, you care about our county, and so I think you should know these things. But I have to tell you, it really counts when you put pressure on your politicians. Our state representative, I will tell you, in the past, it seems like grants gets ignored quite a bit. So get in touch with your state representative, with your state senator, with your commissioners, and let them know how you feel, because let me tell you something, it makes a difference. Josephine.
I just have a couple of quick announcements, if you don't mind.
Okay, no,
Main
please.
Street. We're excited to be pairing with the VFW and the American Legion.
Oh, nice.
Our goal is to place out 500 luminarios in honor of the veterans. Part of the money raised from selling them will be going to the ROTC and the American Legion, and then Main Street for the expenses. So we hope everybody will join. You can pick up the luminarios or sign up for them at the Main Street office or from any of the board of directors.
And how much are they?
They're $5 a piece.
$5?
Yes. So, and also at last night's board meeting, I'm pleased to announce Christopher Baca accepted the position of executive director. So we came in to introduce him to you. We're excited to be working with Chris, and he's got a lot of great ideas. So.
Oh, that's good. Welcome.
I have a question. Yes, the luminarias.
Yes.
Do you want us to purchase them and then you will put them on?
Yeah, we will put them on Santa Fe. You just have to write down who you want it dedicated to, and then we'll put a label on them and place them Friday afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Brittany?
I also have an announcement. A couple of groups in town, it's a good thing, a couple of groups in town were nominated for Top Hat Awards this year. They're the top hospitality and tourism awards that happen in the state of New Mexico. Team 66 was nominated for the Route 66 drive-thru, and also an ad that they did in Grand Canyon Journal last year. And then the Chamber of Commerce was nominated for the Route 66 Fall Fiesta. So we're really excited that award ceremony takes place November 14th, and so we'll be getting a table and going to the awards, and hopefully we'll win. But we'll be nominated.
I think that's great. That is cool. That's cool.
Any other questions or comments?
Did you want to hear about the haunted mine?
Sure.
There was very few of you here that I seen come into the haunted mine we had this past weekend. It lasted 4 days, from the 28th to the 31st. I know Don was there, and she was here, and Terry, but Tammy and I would go down about 8 o'clock and work until 9:30, just about every day. We'd keep it going because we had to clean it out after we had the haunted house. And the whole purpose of it was for charity. The fee was $5, and if you took a can of food, it was only $2. And we collected over 700 pounds of food.
Wow.
We had $2,700 and that is going to coach for the kids. So every bit of it went for charity.
Nice.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
I wish some more of the people would have attended or come through. City Hall, did none of those come through.
How many people went through it approximately?
There was over 800 that went through.
Nice.
And we even had people that had come through to visit the museum, and they stayed to go through the haunted house. Two couples did that, spent the night just so they could go through the haunted house. And they said it was well.
Nice.
May I make a suggestion that if you're going to do this on a yearly basis, maybe have a big banner that you can put up outside the or along the street during that time, so that people can see it and be aware of it.
We had banners all over the county, the town.
The little banners?
Yes.
Okay, I hadn't seen any.
Is the sign not working
It's working.
in front of the chamber?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Someone had mentioned to me that it wasn't working.
It's working.
You couldn't type in something new or?
It's my computer.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a computer.
Computer glitch.
Okay, I was just, someone had mentioned it, that's what I was.
But we found out the other things we could do, and so we're going to start planning for next year.
Nice. Good.
We, when I lived in Provo, we had a state hospital up the street, and it had an old castle in the back. And every year, the inmates, not the inmates, but the patients, excuse me.
We know where your mind's at.
The patients and the employees would operate this haunted castle. They would make $150,000 every year. $150,000, and they used that money for programs for the patients. But I will tell you this, but you know what happened? One person complained, so the governor shut it down, but did not replace the funding for the special programs. So the patients were no longer able to go on field trips and do this and that. And so, you know, these things can be very profitable with the proper advertising and when people get used to it, that it's going to be done every year.
Well, a lot of people they're scared of a mountain to start with, so we don't have to scare them too much.
The haunted mine, yeah,
that's a perfect place.
Yeah.
it is.
Perfect place.
You know, we have so much to be proud of in this community, and I hope that we're aware of that. And we have, you know, our Marine Corps ROTC. Those are a phenomenal group of young people. Did you know that they are asked not to smoke or drink or use illegal drugs? They are asked to abide by a moral code, you know, and they are outstanding young people. And I think our music program in this area is second to none. And I've lived in Utah that considered itself to be artsy and had the best music programs, but I think we have it here. We've got so much to be proud of, and we need to capitalize on the good things, and we need to set aside the negative things and work to improve and build our community and do it together. And Don and I are grateful to all of you that show up to these meetings and voice your concerns and contribute with your comments, because these things are taken into consideration and used to improve our city. And I'm grateful to live in this area. I love this area. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the United States, and we need to continue to keep it beautiful and to keep moving forward. And thank you so much for coming today.
Is the light parade going to happen, just real quick? The light parade?
Yes, Light Parade is scheduled for December 9th.
Oh, I like that.
The theme this year is Santa's Workshop.
Nice. Excellent.
I wanted to mention, I've noticed in this meeting, we've been coming maybe about 6 months worth, and this meeting has been different than all of the other ones.
Uh-oh.
Because
We're in trouble.
No, it's just the opposite. I'm seeing other people noticing it too. The other meetings have been meetings where the two people who are out front have been just
I thought it was a question answer thing, to be honest with you.
Well, let's make it, let's make it.
I didn't have a speech.
Continue, please.
No, it's a good thing. It's a lot more interactive.
Well, that's what I thought it was.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But
So
Don
just
and his
pass that
family
along
wasn't
to your
demanding.
bosses.
Well, I got little ones and they had to go, so.
Yeah.
Just had to go.
And thank you, Don.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much.
Oh, one more question.
One more.
You know, this thing you were talking about, you were wondering if you were gonna end up getting it back because someone's not paying his taxes.
Are you talking about the greenhouse?
Yeah, is there any way that the city could ever buy that and make it into something that would generate some money?
We don't want to buy it, we want to take it.
There's so much tied to
I mean,
it.
if they're not going to pay their
Whichever works.
taxes,
And
then
then get a bunch, then brainstorm to see if we can start generating some money.
there has been interest from people too, in that greenhouse. Outside of John Stockwell, who owns it. There have
It would
been,
be good if the city could, so the city could generate some money.
There's just so much tied to that greenhouse. It's difficult to do that now. I mean, maybe years later, but there's a lot tied to that
the
greenhouse.
city and county should stay away from any kind of business
See you, Jack.
and stick to the business of taking care of the community. Businesses should be run by individuals that know what they're doing, have the business expertise and the capital to make it happen. And that's what we would want to do with that.
And go ahead, Rose, say what you were saying to me just now. With regard to the, I'll call it the greenhouse, currently the Yakima are working on a greenhouse over
Project.
a project.
Yeah.
Same company.
Same company.
Yeah, and they're growing something else out there.
Yes.
I think it's cannabis, I'm not sure. But here they're planning, or it's an idea, to actually grow herbal plants in this greenhouse.
Well, and actually, there are lots of ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
Homestake owns lots of property in the area, and they have been interested in doing different projects and the talk about greenhouses and growing, because our elevation and our temperatures are perfect for greenhouse growing, and we have fewer bugs. That have to do with the planning process, and so it's actually a great place and a good idea to do that. We just need to get people with capital that want to come in here and do it right.
I will tell you that Homestake looked at it, and in the condition that it's in right now, it would cost us more to refurbish this one than to build a new
Right.
one.
I'm actually, Edward knows about this. We were contacted by a company in Boston, in New York, Boston somewhere. Anyway, the plan is to bring a large greenhouse separate from John Stockwell and all that stuff. And this is a different company. They purchased some property. They looked at this one and the same thing. It would cost as much to build than to take over this one.
What are the problems with it?
But the key is for the city or the county to take it over, so they actually have it to offer, right?
Right. Well, I mean, if they don't pay their taxes, they will.
Yeah, but they'll still be tied up in litigation for a while. They're not gonna turn it over to you right away, I'm sure.
So for now, it sits there.
Yep.
Right.
Well, on that happy note.